Ladies and gentlemen, members and friends, it's time for another virtual tasting. How exciting is this? It's the Director's Big Five Festival Pack. And no, that doesn't mean you just have to endure me for this hour. You get all three of us. You get three of us actually in tonight. So I'm going to bring in my co-hosts, and I encourage you to get your packs ready. Pre-pour some of your whiskeys. We'll touch on this in just a second. But before we do, I better bring in our other other guests. But before I do, actually, I'll do that. Who wrote that comment? Because I'm not actually late. It's 7. We went live at 7. Your clock is out by a minute. But even if I was 1 minute late, that's okay. Okay, let's bring in, of course, Andrew Durbidge, who is one of our frequent collaborators. Andrew, good to see you.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me.
And, of course, Adam Ioannidis from our Melbourne team. Here we are. Adam, good to see you.
Thanks, Matt. Good to be here.
This is exciting. This is our first virtual to do with the festival. It's festival month. It's May. And it's so exciting that we're all able to here and to taste 5 out of the 10 festival releases we have on this month with the Big 5 Festival Pack. We've got 2 packs this month. We've got the 5 and the 10. The 10 is in 2 weeks from now. The 5 is tonight, right now. And it's
this is just a warm-up.
Yeah, this is a warm-up. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a very different. They're very different packs, of course. And I think the whole idea behind this one this month, which has sold out, by the way, I think, is that we've picked out 5 of the 10. I picked out 5 of the 10 that I thought were interesting, very diverse, and showed each of the regions nicely. We've got 5 whiskeys, we've got 5 regions, and we've got about an hour or so, if you'll grin and bear us for an hour, us talking about each of these whiskeys and showing a few pictures along the way. So we might crack straight into it. What do you reckon? We've put rare release G16 at the start, which might be a good place to start, actually. So let's pour that one out now. Dark and Stormy Creme Brulee. I'll just throw that up on screen. Here we go. Before we get started, actually, there was something I just want to show up on screen here. This year, it's May. It's our festival month. It's our chance to taste through all the festival releases. There's 7 rare releases, as you can see on the image there, plus the single casks that we got exclusive to Australia, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. And there they are. There's the 5 we're going to taste through tonight. We'll probably do them in that order as well. That's probably a good order to go with. And we'll start with the G16 if you want to pour that out nice and early. And we're going with this sort of marbling pattern, as you can see here. It's sort of to signify all the marbling of the flavors that come together in these releases, because, Adam, I'm going to get you to touch on this a little bit later on as well. But we'll talk about sort of the marbling effect and what that means and what that looks like. And then we'll start here. We'll start with the Dark and Stormy Creme Brulee. Any immediate thoughts, lads?
Well, it's certainly been appropriately named. So I'm not doing exactly what I said I would.
A little bit off the tasting notes, but I think I'm getting like chocolate pretzels, like really salty chocolate, which might be where the toffee bonbons almost come in.
Yeah, I think that salted chocolate's a good call.
Yeah,
it's such an interesting spirit, isn't it? I mean, and that's a talking point in itself. Just the fact that this is not a single malt; it's got other grains inside it, and that's quite a talking point. And when and I know we probably don't want to mention the B word, Matthew, but
but as long as we don't call it a B word, we just we say it alludes to. It's in the style of.
It's in the style of, yeah. But look, at the end of the day, when you know that, and you know that this is going to be reminiscent or in the same style of that wonderful spirit that we most commonly associate from Kentucky, there's no trouble with that.
For those watching along as well as listening, on the screen right now is Ewan Campbell and Phoebe Brooks. Phoebe's no longer with the society, but this photo was taken 6 years ago when the society team actually distilled this spirit in G16. It's our own project from start to finish of our own distillate going into casks we selected to bottle for members now. And it's a grain whiskey, but it's been distilled on pot stills. Because of the grain mix, it's not 100% single malt. It has a bit of malted barley in there, but it's actually mostly not barley. And we can see here there's the actual moment of the casks being filled, our level 4 heavy char barrels being filled. And there's Locke, who this is a cool story. He actually helped distill this project with the society team, and he now works as a distiller in Australia. So very small world, the distilling world.
But he is actually Australian.
Is he?
Yes.
Ah, there you go. So very small world.
It's the same guy I'm thinking of, because I've been to this distillery. I toured there in 2017.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure it was Lachlan who showed me around the place. And he came out the front, and I just hopped off the plane. So I literally landed in Glasgow from Australia, hired a car, drove around to this distillery, and this bloke walks out, and I stick my hand out to say, "Hi, Andrew." And this Aussie voice goes, "G'day." And I'm pretty sure it was Lachlan. So if I've got that wrong and I've got my bearded Australians mixed up, I apologise. But I'm pretty sure Lachlan was from Melbourne, if I remember correctly.
It's also Andrew. I mean, in terms of mixing up, it's pretty. I think it's pretty much illegal to be a distiller or a brewer and not have a beard. So there could be some mixing up here. It's a cool project from start to finish, and Ewan and Phoebe worked quite a bit on it. Ewan's not nearly as hairy these days, but it's the same bloke, I promise. But yeah, and it was a cool project working on these grains and pulling this all together from the society, which I think is fantastic. It's a cool project. It's a grain whiskey from pot stills, but distilled in Scotland, and kind of tastes like distilled in Kentucky almost. It's really interesting stuff.
It's if I remember correctly, Matt, I don't have the details here. You may have them to hand, but from memory, the maize content, the corn content, this was around 58% there or thereabouts.
58% maize, 21% malted barley, and 21% unmalted rye.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
That's not a million miles away from Woodford Reserve, in fact. And Woodford Reserve is one of the very few Kentucky bourbons that actually distills in pot stills as opposed to column stills. So if you're a Woodford Reserve fan, this may possibly
hit the right buttons. Yeah.
Hit the right buttons.
Yummy butterscotch, says Betty Petrie. Yeah, that's a good tasting note. I'll agree with that. It's got a very butterscotchy note to it. And it's been bottled at sort of like a nod as the bottled in bond sort of moment. It's been bottled at 50% ABV, which I think works really well in this case. That's lovely. Proculio says Skirben. Yeah. That's a good word for it.
Well, it's either that or botch, isn't it?
I prefer a glass of Skirben than botch. Go up to a bar and ask for a glass of botch, please. Yeah, it sounds a bit rough, doesn't it? I get burnt candy floss, says Morning Star. Good.
Actually, that's a great get. I get that as well.
I don't know. Skirben sounds like something you'd catch after a long ocean travel.
Not because it reminds you of the word scurvy.
Yeah, it's a little bit too close to scurvy.
Yeah, so it's our malt of the month, and it's we've had a pretty interesting run of malt of the months already this year. In experimenting with different releases and I guess being our maverick year of different things. And if you told me even like a year ago that one of our malt of the months was going to be a festival bottling that's a 6-year-old grain, I'd be like, it's not possible. it's not really suitable, but it really is. It doesn't matter. The exploration of flavor is what's most important. And this is part of the Lowland Festival releases. This is the main release for the Lowland Festival for us. And it's something that we worked on 6 years ago. It wasn't something we found 6 months ago and then bottled. It's been made from scratch from the team, which I think is great.
I think that's a really good point, Matt. And the other side of that too is, I mean, across the board, there are 10 festival bottlings this year, which is huge, massive. I mean, you think about what we were doing for festivals as recently as 3 years ago. It wasn't like, as you say, it wasn't like we woke up in April and suddenly thought, oh gosh, we would have put something together for May. This has been a long time in the works, a long time planning, and a fantastic range for members across the planet to really enjoy this time around.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And also so awesome that we here in Australia got every single one of them to some extent.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we got all the main festival releases and then some single casks on top, which we split very evenly with a couple of branches, which was fantastic. As you can see from the main slide at the moment, you can see we got, I need to hide that little thing here. We got 84 of this one, so not a whole lot, but it's been selling pretty well. It was only released on Friday, and I think there's only a handful left. So don't snooze and lose on this one. It was 1,300 bottles, which sounds like a lot when you think about it. That's for the whole world, and that's for a whiskey club with nearly 40,000 members. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a tiny amount, and it's been selling very well around the world. This one has come out in most branches now, so it's a new release, which is a good point to say, actually, a good segue to say. We've actually been, thanks to Andrew and thanks to the whole team at the Society, we've been really quite on top of making sure that we get these festival releases at the same time as the UK are releasing them, which is a pretty remarkable feat. I mean, it's not like, because some of these, I'll be honest with you guys, some of these bottles were bottled they were bottled up, ready for festivals like 6 weeks ago. So, the fact that we're able to get them now and release them at the same time is quite extraordinary.
Me flying across and bringing them back in my suitcase was a tall order, but we got there.
That's some Mary Poppins suitcase you've got there, Andrew, to fitting all these back. That's good.
Yeah, I exceeded my 30-kilogram limit. Don't worry.
And then some. Evening all, good to see everyone joining in, and yes, that is David Powell joining us, who's under the YouTube name Morningstar.
David, you've switched. David was our friend on Facebook who abused you for being a minute late, Matt. So he's changed platforms on us.
There you go. Andrew's on top of this. I didn't see who that was, but thank you, and I'm sorry I'm late. Okay, shall we? Instead of being more late, we shall press on, but in the meantime, we might just answer this question. Did the Society keep some barrels to see what happens to the spirit as it ages 10 plus years? Proculio, I actually don't know the answer to that. We could check in with the spirits team. I would imagine that this wasn't a single one-off batch, though. Let's be honest. It was, if you work on a project of this scale and time frame, we might even see a 7 or an 8 in years to come. We might see a 10. It all comes down to when it's ready, though. We don't actually aim for any particular age statements at the Society. As you would have seen, we've seen Vault's collection releases that are 29 years of age. That'd probably look better if we had a 30 on the bottle. And same for a 19-year-old whiskey that might look better with a 20 or a 21 and those kind of things, or a 9-year-old that look better as a 10. This was probably ready at 6, so we bottled it at 6. Whether it goes any further, whether there's any other casks it's probably Pandora's box is probably Ewan's little secret, so who knows?
That's a good point, Matt. We had that a couple of years, 10 years ago now, but when we had we had 2, in fact, one from the Glenfarclas distillery and one from Glenmurray, and they were both at 48 years old. And everyone thought, it'd be great if they could get to 50. But everyone tasted at the time and thought, you know what, it's ready now. To stick them in, leave them there behind for another 2 years, ran the risk of them actually toppling over the edge and going too far.
Well, in the case of that Glenmurray, I think I know which bottling you're talking about. That was bottled at 40.0%.
Yes, that's right.
Leave it a couple more years and you'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
A minute late, he must be part Indian. I'll leave that to you to decide, Krishna. And Proculio, thank you. Yep, good one. Okay, we'll move on to the next one in just a moment. But before we do, I just want to bring up this special announcement, which you've probably seen on your socials and your emails already. We're giving away a whole set of these 10 festival bottlings. That's massive. It's $3,030 worth of whiskey in one set. I'm actually just disappointed that I can't win it myself. Let's put it that way. When I was reading this and doing a couple of videos on it, I was like, this is so good. I'd love to win this myself. I just love to have the whole festival set. But it's $3,030. And we always put members first, so I can't even get all the festival bottlings, even if I wanted them. And so it's available. All you have to do is either join the society, or if you're already a member, which many of you watching will be, refer a friend. All they have to do is put your name in the referral box when they join up. It's as simple as that. And you get, just keep entering, keep the referrals up, and we'll draw it at the end of the month, or the beginning of next month, I should say. So it closes at the end of the month. You've got the whole month, but the whole month will pass us by very quickly as time goes. Okay. Let's have a look at our next whiskey, rare release 68. Bake Off.
Not the first 68 to find itself into the deep, rich, and dried fruits territory.
No, and we've had some absolute crackers.
Haven't we just?
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, because I think the society is seriously shining a light on a distillery that otherwise would really sail under the radar. I mean, as a single malt, it's very hard to come by. The flora and fauna bottling was there for a long, long time. If you're traveling around Scotland as a tourist, you're almost invariably going to pass through Pitlochry, and this distillery is located at Pitlochry. So a lot of tourists drop in and try and go through the experience. But to have it as a single malt in this sort of style, in these sorts of casks, the way it's been put together, I think is amazing.
I'm definitely getting the cinnamon.
Mm.
And almost like burnt marshmallows.
Oh, good. Yeah, good call with the marshmallows. So this really is a potpourri of quite an interesting mix of casks, I should say. So it's a combination of sherry casks and ex-bourbon casks, but the sherry casks you can actually break down further again. And so you've got first fill and refill Spanish oak Oloroso casks, which actually describes a lot of the expressions that are widely available from our good friends at Macallan. the Macallan double cask and even the triple cask expressions have this pretty much the same combo of cask types.
It's held up that it's got a lot of that, like, burnt marshmallow note on the nose, but on the palate, I've just had a little sip of that. First of all, it drinks lovely at that proof of 53.5. It's that beautiful mid-50s proof, 14-year-old, but it hasn't lost that distillery character. It's got that really lovely nutty. I always say nutty with Distillery 68. It's always got that really chestnuts, hazelnuts, roasted nuts kind of thing.
Exactly, roasted nuts. That's exactly, and you get it on the finish too. Really, really wonderful. Roasted hazelnuts.
It's a very thick mouthfeel as well. It's got this lovely sort of like almost like oily, viscous note to it. Yeah, that's great.
That's nice.
I think 68's fast becoming one of my favorites.
Yeah.
The stuff we've been putting out lately, fantastic.
It's funny, coming back to that theme of roasted nuts, if you chase that roastedness just a little bit further down the line, anyone else getting a slight touch of smokiness to it?
On the nose, I did a little bit, and that's sort of where that toasted marshmallow note came from. Because initially I got a bit of sort of barbecue smoke, but it was very faint.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm now getting your marshmallows being toasted and burnt, and getting the smoke coming off that as the vanilla kind of burns up.
I get where you're coming from. I keep trying to find it, and I don't think I'm immediately finding it, but I'm getting that, like, the whiff of the smoke after toasting the nuts kind of thing. Yeah. Which is with cherries and figs. Yep. A bit of cinnamon on porridge, says Betty.
There's some dried spices there as well. Have you got to crack some spices on the frying pan and just heat them up? Particularly Middle Eastern spices and Indian spices.
I get a bit of that like trifle note as well.
Oh yeah,
like boozy trifle sort of thing going on. That's great. Is it just a good minor segue for me to say there's some great photos of the distillery here, and some of the casks maturing away, and a photo from the outside. It's recently trimmed, and the mash tun they turned into a bar,
which is very cool. I have to add.
Very cool. Like that looks amazing. It's very inventive. A retired mash tun turned into a sort of a back bar there. You wouldn't want to slip and fall underneath it, of course. It looks great.
Yeah, you'd be semi-launted.
Semi-launted. All right. Okay, that's the call. Okay, that's good. But it's a good opportunity for me to say these gorgeous photos from the distillery were taken by our team from Unfiltered. And you get to see all these photos and all the rich photography, of course, by reading Unfiltered every month. How good is that? How's that for a segue? Come on, that was pretty good. But the issue 81's actually out tomorrow. Adam's had a huge part to play in building up Unfiltered each month, both with some local content and the UK. And it's just been great to see Australia's really only dedicated whiskey magazine come out every month. And it's a great issue with a main feature on Milk and Honey Distillery in tomorrow's issue. So keep an eye on your inboxes for that coming up shortly.
It's
also really sorry, Andrew, go on.
No, you go, man.
No, I was going to say there's also a really incredible article on basically an engineer who builds submersibles and was inspired to go down to the Mariana Trench because of a 95, Society 95, which was titled As Deep as the Mariana Trench. And it's just a whole article on that and drinking whiskey in the deepest parts of the world.
That's cool, actually.
Not something you see every day.
Yeah, that is very cool. You know that whole thing about how your taste buds change when you taste whiskey at a higher altitude, like whether it be on a mountaintop or in a plane or something. And they're muted, or you need more salt to be able to taste things or something when flying. And I wonder if it works inverse for Mariana Trench. If you went that far underground, would you? Are your senses amplified? Is it the opposite, or is it the same? That'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to reading that.
I feel like it'd surely be a different experience, even if it's like a placebo thing. Just the environment. I mean, drinking whiskey in different environments at home or in a bar, that alone will change. So, but yeah, it's a great.
I think there's a lot of truth to your taste buds aren't quite firing on all cylinders when you're up in the air at 30,000 feet. The last flight I had some shivers recall, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I'm sure it must have been the plane. Couldn't have been.
It was either going to be that or bourbon, right? Come on.
Yeah. Hey, we talked about the strength of this earlier, and Matt, I agree. At 53.5, it is beautiful, but just because it's kind of in my job description, I added a splash of water to this. My goodness, does it improve and go in amazing directions?
Okay.
If you've not added water to this, ladies and gents, I suggest you do just a little splash and just see where the nose completely expands and just becomes so much more complex and wonderful.
We'll just see how that goes.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, it does actually hold up with water as well, doesn't it, on the nose even? Yeah, you get more of the sherry note, if that makes sense. It's more of the sort of the ripe fruits and sherry note.
That's exactly right. It's the sweetness that comes out, and almost the I hate using this word, but the grapiness, as you say, the fruit.
Yeah. There's a tasting note written in your menus as well, which says with water it added a few more things, but one of the notes I thoroughly agree with, it says Turkish delight. I'll agree with that thoroughly. It's like that pink and red Turkish delight note straight away.
Yeah, the rose water comes through.
Rose water, yes. Very good, very good. Now this one has already come out. This was last Friday along with Lowlands. We did Lowlands and Highlands at the same time. We had 60 available. I think we've got 11 or 12 right now. So it's been very popular. So keep an eye on that one, as it's going to vanish, of course, over the next probably few days. And otherwise, we have you might spot it at some of the events coming up as well. All right, shall we move on?
I love the fact that our next contender from Distillery 64, and this it speaks back to what you were saying earlier, Matt. You know, we bottle and we label things by their flavour and what they are rather than what they should be. This falls into the old and dignified flavour profile.
But it's 15 years old.
And it's only 15 years. I'm about to say, I think there's a lot of members who would suspect, surely it's got to get to 21, 25 years old until it could qualify for this flavour profile. And that's nonsense. I think at whether it's 10, 15 or 8, if it displays the characteristics of those things that we stereotypically associate with the really old whiskies, then that's where it belongs to be.
Yeah, no. It's take one nose of that 64, this one we're on to now, the viscous velvet. Have one nose of that and tell me that doesn't just have this lovely old school aroma, like dusty old lounge chairs, library books, old print publishing, blotted ink.
Not for me, but straight away what I'm getting is Raffaello chocolates.
Right.
The coconut.
Yeah. This is I called this on one of the videos we did. This is already, I think, my pick of the festival releases personally. I love this whiskey. I truly love it. Oh wow!
Can someone educate me as to the specifics of blueberry ham?
Blueberry ham. Where is that? Is that in the tasting notes?
It's up on your
it tastes like.
I'll taste like. Oh, there it is. Blueberry ham.
Yeah.
Adam, is that a typo? Is that meant to say blueberry jam?
No. Does it say blueberry jam in the tasting notes?
Well, it doesn't matter what it says in the tasting notes until you can tell me what blueberry ham is. Wait.
Read it backwards. Blueberry ham.
Oh, yeah.
Fourth bottom line. At the very end.
Maybe that's also an error. All right, we're flinging this one back up to the UK. They made an error.
Yeah, but you forget one thing. We're talking about the panel here, and it could be blueberry ham.
It really could be. Actually,
alternatively, it's such a bad typo. It was actually meant to be strawberry ham.
Strawberry ham and blueberry jam. Yep.
Green ham.
Regardless of that little distraction, it is a wonderful whiskey. I haven't tasted it yet, just that the nose just keeps going on and on.
David, I hope there's a great photo with some fantastic slippers, a great 31 in a society glass, and a fire in the background.
With your LP as well.
Yes.
I was inspired by a society bottling that was called Keep On Drinking, and I've taken that to heart ever since.
It's called like one, wasn't it? Keep on drinking.
Yeah.
I just love the nose and palate on this. It just reminds, for me, there's a bit of a memory attached with this in that it was. I'm rewinding about maybe 6-7 years ago. We had a string of these 64s through that were these like 24, 26, 27-year-old 64s coming through, and they were just phenomenal. They were red coat era, whatever you want to call it. And they had this lovely elegance to them. One of them was called Sweeties from Grandma's Purse or something like that, and it was just a phenomenal whiskey. And for a 15-year-old whiskey, this reminds me of those much older releases, and it's got that lovely relaxed character to the spirit, if that makes sense. When a spirit, it doesn't feel like it's forced. It feels like it's very relaxed. It's a very relaxed single malt, but it's also works marvelously at 53.1%. As again, a lovely proof on it.
What I love about it too is I think there's still some of the distillery profile does come through. This distillery is renowned for its fruitiness. It does a really long fermentation, like about 100 hours or something. And the longer your fermentation is, the fruitier and the more esters you're going to have in your wash, and that comes through. And despite the amazing, well, not despite, but in spite of the amazing cask treatment this has had, which has just added so much flavour and texture, you still get that fruitiness come through.
I 100% agree. And Bet, Betty, I'm going to add a bit of water after that comment. With water, it's like a liqueur.
Yeah. I just did that a moment ago too, and not Drambuie, but do people remember Glavia, the other one?
That's still a thing, isn't it? That still exists.
Probably does. I've not seen it for a while, but
yeah, I'm sure it still exists. I haven't seen it in probably 10 years either, but I think it's still a thing.
Okay.
No, neither.
Wow. A touch of water, and I think you could keep drinking that all night. Just gives and gives.
Very easy drinking, isn't it? It's to your point before, Andrew, about how flavor profiles evolve into these releases. And just to make a bit more clarification of that for some members, even just in the last 12 months, we've had a young and sprightly first fill sherry butt, and we've had a old and dignified refill bourbon barrel. Sorry, deep, rich, and dried fruits. Sorry, refill bourbon barrel. So we've had deep, rich, and dried fruits from a refill barrel, and a young and sprightly from a first fill sherry butt. The cask, the age, the region play no part of the flavor profile. It's the flavor that plays the flavor profile. And that's it. That's all that matters.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Otherwise, you might get a first fill sherry butt, and it's a young and sprightly, and it's like, but you'll be fooled into thinking it could be much more sherried than it is, but it was just quite inactive or whatever. It's it's best to know a flavor profile rather than just relying on cask, because the casks are so unique. It can always change.
I think I did get a little bit of blueberry at the end there. Definitely no ham though. But
no ham, just blueberry.
It's amazing the power of suggestion, but now that you said that, I've gone looking for something along those lines, and I do actually get a touch of boysenberry.
There are
boysenberry
some
ham.
notes here. Someone's just said they bought the Rare Release 68. Just bought it. Sounds really good. Yeah, the 68 and the G16 are live right now on the site. What we've just tasted, the 64, is actually not available until this Friday. So I'll throw that up on screen right now. There we go. Rare Release 64, Viscous Velvet, Speyside Festival release. So that's this Friday. What's the date of Friday?
12th.
Thank you. 12th.
Good decision there, Joz. That was a good purchase. Well done.
Yeah, no, good purchase. It's the 68 is fantastic. The 64 is one of my picks so far. Really enjoying that though. It's safe to say the first three whiskeys we've just had out of the all five are all very radically different as well, which is so exciting because and they represent the region so well. In fact, I think the G16 represents the lowlands incredibly well because it shows what's happening in the lowlands. It's a changing region. It's evolving. It's not just soft floral triple distilled stuff. It's actually there's some really cool innovation. There's some grain. There's some single malt. There's all sorts of stuff happening in lowlands now, which is just great to see.
I think if you look at where the really interesting, dare I say, the most innovative stuff is being done right now, it's all down in the south, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I think they're taking a few more risks. They're having a bit more fun with it and seeing what can be done. It's great to see. Really cool to see.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam, you were going to say?
No, I was just saying a bit of a renaissance in the lowlands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think Lowlands and Campbelltown are the two regions we're going to see a lot more innovation and a lot more distilleries come out of in the next few years, which is exciting to see.
Little segue there.
Oh, segue! Yes, segue. What are the odds? Look at this. So I'll just show you there. There's Viscous Velvet. That's one of the 3 Speyside releases this Friday. We have Rare Release 24 Massive Oak Extraction, which is a 14-year-old from a distillery that was casually mentioned already in this stream, but you'll know your 24s. And Distillery 108.67. It's not a rare release in title, but it is in release. It's a single cask. It's a 14-year-old single cask, and we picked up, I think, half the cask of that, which is really exciting. That's a Juicy Oak and Vanilla 14-year-old single cask from Distillery 108. And it's literally like chocolate sponge.
I was about to say it's liquid dessert. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so nice. Segue.
Yes.
This is, of course, as it says here, rare release 93. If you want to pour your glass now, rare release 93. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Funnels, a casual name reference to Adam's favorite film. And this one is coming soon. This is Friday 19th. So not next Friday, but the one after. Sorry, not this Friday, but the one after. And I'll have a taste of this. It's an 8-year-old, lightly peated.
I love the reference to Lapsang Souchong tea there is sensational. Very, very accurate.
Now, unlike the other rare releases for this year, this one was matured entirely in a mixture of first fill bourbon barrels. Worth noting. So it's had a lot of cask extraction, a lot of first fill influence.
It's a very happy, light and pleasing colour for 8 years old too, isn't it?
Just bounces around the glass, that one, doesn't it?
I don't know about at you two or for everyone playing along at home, but this is getting smokier and smokier and peatier as it breathes in the glass.
I poured my one a bit later. I just poured it just a moment ago. I'm just letting it open up a bit.
The very initial nose for me was that Lapsang Souchong tea, but 60 seconds later now it's just absolute Campbelltown diesel engine and peat coming through.
I'm definitely getting a bit of diesel, but also like just teriyaki barbecue.
Yeah,
like just a hint of sweetness.
Mm.
The full tasting notes for these from memory are absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it basically tells a story of gangster crustaceans as opposed to tasting notes. It quite literally talks about lobsters like robbing a bank and then getting locked up or something. It's a journey. It's a journey.
Yeah,
just like flavor.
The lobster found himself trapped in trifle, facing a stretch of time in brine behind chocolate bars.
It's funny. We say this a fair bit about society releases from Distillery 93, and this one is just up there. But if you've ever had the privilege and pleasure of catching the ferry to Isla, and you're on that ferry from Kennecraig across to Port Ellen or Port of Skye, there is that smell that a lot of people just call the Calmac smell, the smell of being out on the deck of the Calmac ferry, Calmac being for Caledonian McRae. And this just takes you there. I've spent hours standing out there on the wings of the ferries that goes across, and you get the sea spray, the smell of the fumes coming out of the diesel vents nearby, the oil and the grease that's around on the decks. And this is just absolutely transporting me there.
That sounds fantastic.
As per I don't quite know. As well, it's just getting better as well. It's getting smoky, but it's just getting better with it's opened up. Adam, you made a comment about this earlier today about the 93 just getting better the longer you left it in glass.
Yeah, I poured a dram the other day, and it was nice initially, but it definitely benefited from a bit of time, like 20-25 minutes just sitting in the glass, and just so many new flavors erupted.
Oh wow! Oh, that is gorgeous on the palate.
I don't think I've ever had a Lapsang Souchong tea before, but I definitely get a type of herbal tea note on the palate just initially.
There's a little bit of Earl Grey tucked behind there, and then
that's what that's spot on.
Then the peat and smoke comes through.
Yeah, that black tea note is just phenomenal.
It's got some power at 60.2%, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, comparative to where we've been, especially.
Yeah.
But it holds it well, doesn't it? I will add water to it, but I'm not I'm reluctant to, but just a few drops. Oh wow, I get much more of that sort of lobster note now with the water, actually. Less of the diesel fume and more of the sort of lobster tail. And
can you feel its life sentence?
Behind chocolate bars, yeah. Yeah.
But even that chocolate bars, like you can get there's a bit of sweetness that does cut through.
Yeah, there's definitely a sweet thread through this. Yeah. Like a milk chocolate note.
Yeah. Oh, that is just stunning.
That's great. That is a great 93.
Sorry, Matt. I think you said your 64 was the pick of the bunch. I'm changing allegiances.
I might soon as well. That's very good. We don't have as much of this 93 to go around.
Well, you've just got one less. Trust me.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a popular release, and this is coming out on, like I said, the third Friday of the month, the 19th. That's great.
Definitely the best name as well.
Yeah. Best name. Okay. Yeah, sure.
That was actually on telly just the other night. Such a good. You can watch that film many times and not get tired of it.
It's my number one favorite film.
Yeah, wow.
I love that film.
Yeah, it's great. Lightly peated profile, rare release 93. There it is. Here's a slide of some of the things you can see on our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can, of course, hit the subscribe button and get notified of when we put these videos up, like this Distillery 93 release. We get to talk about some of these releases before they come out. And there's our little card for it. Like we said, 1276, 66 of which are in Australia. 1276 is not a lot. Like, again, 40,000 members worldwide, one set of festival releases, like these rare releases coming out. So a very small percentage of the membership will be able to grab onto these. But we've our good old Australia branch, we do punch above our weight on what we get in terms of goodies from these releases, and it's really good. And of course, AD's got a he's changed allegiance to this one as well. Okay, good. Oh, that's great. I'm going to leave a bit of that aside. I want to come back around to that one.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
I think that's going to be one that I'll explore in maybe an hour or two and see how it's coming along.
I'm working from the office. I'm broadcasting to you from the office here tonight, and
I actually love the backdrop. It's colourful and has a list of accomplishments behind it, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're all projects that we've worked on here. But my point simply being, I unfortunately have to drive home from here tonight, and I'm now really regretting my decisions.
There's always Uber.
Very true.
With that said, I think we might move on to our fifth whiskey and just pour a dram of that and see how we're coming along. And that is, of course,
a single cask.
Yes, our single cask for the night. We have 3 single casks this year. Yes, 10.241, 108.67, which are not in tonight's tasting, but I really wanted to feature something from the Isla Festival, and we've got 4 Isla releases this year. 2 of which were from Distillery 53, 1 from Distillery 3, and 1 from Distillery 10. So there's one. The 10 is a single cask. Sound of Singing Sand.
That's a great whiskey.
Yeah, it's very good. But I also want to see how a full maturation of a 14-year-old in a first fill American oak PX hogshead went along.
I was convinced that was a typo when this first appeared on our radar to make selections from that. I thought 14 years, this distillery in first fill PX. I was waiting for the tasting that you see at the end that says, after 12 years we transferred this to. I was waiting for that little comment, and then wait, it's a full maturation. That's incredible.
Full maturation.
That's exactly what I said to Matt today. I thought this must be the extra maturation cask, but.
It
isn't.
It's fair to say, though, however, I think it'd be fair to say that it's not the most super active first fill, even just on color or on nose alone. It's a first fill PX. It definitely looks like a sherried whiskey mostly, but it's very subtle on the nose. This one on the start.
Well, I guess that's the American oak as opposed to the European oak, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I'm getting bits of like that. Like black coffee and bacon fat sort of moment on this one, but it's very subtle for me. This one, like it doesn't leap out of the glass.
I'll tell you what I'm getting straight away is pea and ham soup.
Ooh, okay, good call. I think, have you had pea and ham soup from a 53 before? Is that would you say it's just something you get from the distillery sometimes?
Pea and ham soup is an absolute laydown bazaar for any sherry cask of Ardbeg. Ardbeg in a sherry cask is just pea and ham soup every single day of the week. But I get it with this as well.
That's a lot bigger on the palate than I was expecting.
It's got an unexpected bite.
Ooh, if it's unexpected, it's welcome.
Yeah. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Can I just say something just to give fair warning? I am in the office and the cleaning crew have come through and someone's just fired up the vacuum cleaner over there. So if my noise gets too loud, just tell me to mute and I'll...
No, I think we should be good. I think we should. We're on the 5th dram anyway, so
Yeah.
if the cleaning crew are getting a bit voracious, then just offer them some libations that you can't drink because you're driving.
They're looking at me. They're looking at me very strangely, thinking, "What the hell is going on here?"
Can't you see I'm enjoying it? A solo drinking session. Go away.
It's not a problem, sir.
For those playing along at home, we are on 53 or 447, which is one of the single casks in this year's festival releases. And this is part of the Isla Festival releases on the 26th of May. And it's our 4th and final release of 4 different Isla releases for this year, if you like, for this month, I should say, of the festival releases. There it is. So 277 bottles were yielded after 14 years of maturation. Not a lot for a big hoggy, or did all right, I guess. And we've taken half of them. Like half of them are Australia, which is massive. Like we've really punched above our weight here, and picked up a really healthy allocation. And I'm so excited we have, because that is a lovely viscous drop.
Mm.
I think the swirling effect of this one is very apt as well. There's dark swirls on it.
You know what? I'm now questioning my allegiances again. I loved 93, but this one is seriously pushing my buttons.
Come back to the 93 and see how it's going.
I think the 93 is the one I want to contemplate and analyze and have fun with. But the 53 is the one I just want to sit back and relax and don't think about it. Just drink me.
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely the kind of 53 that would be a quick vanishing act.
Yes.
This took the crown for me, Mirko. Good to see you, Mirko. Been a while. There we go. This took the crown for me. Good to see you.
Oh, wow. And there's a really nice oakiness that comes through on the finish.
That's true. I'm going to try this with a drop of water. I'm always wary with water for those playing along. I'm always wary of water with sherried whiskies. I find they do well with first fill, refill bourbon, but sherried is always a bit tricky.
Yeah, I think the peated whiskies from Isla are a bit more forgiving, Matt. I think I certainly agree with you. You're drinking something from Speyside or Islands, but the peat seems to just give that water a bit more buffer space.
Wow. The water actually did wonders on that. That worked well.
Really?
Yeah, I like it with
okay.
It's not too much, just a few drops, but just it made it even more olive oil-ish on the mouthfeel, and a bit more like slightly more like herbal as well with the.
All right. Well, on your recommendation, I'll
give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a go.
Matt, don't forget your soundboard.
Oh yeah, sorry. Where were we?
Wow.
Okay, there we go. Good.
There we go.
Wow.
It's good to utilize all assets.
Wow.
There we
watching
go.
A ventriloquist for a moment there, Adam. Bloody hell.
No, it's just Owen Wilson saying wow.
Wow.
Wait. 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
There we go. We got it. Things you get to watch on a society live stream.
Teamwork.
The adding a splash of water to this actually brings out a really nice tobacco note as well. Almost, and I'm the most militant non-smoker, but there's a slight menthol cigarette note to it.
I think that could be, yeah. I think that would be the sherry cask, wouldn't it? Love your imagination, says Betty, and Morningstar says very nice, but not aggressive. Yeah, I'm just going to touch on that comment because it's almost exactly what I said about this release when I first tasted it. It's kind of like we've had this lovely string of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old 53s come through. And they're all quite young, but they're all being quite young. They're quite brash, and they're young, big peated whiskies. And now we're seeing things like a couple of these 14-year-old releases come through, which are worlds apart from those younger ones, and worlds apart from the really old ones that we also get. So it's this nice middle point that we haven't really seen much discovery from. And I think that's kind of fun. It's fun to see how the spirit reacts. These society casks are reacting as these teenage casks rather than these great 30, 31, 32-year-old whiskeys and these great 8, 9, 10-year-old ones, but everything in between. And it's like, but we have this middle gap of these 14-year-old ones and 15-year-old ones we'll see. It's just amazing to see how the spirit reacts. It's not as aggressive, but it's a bit more complex, a bit more sort of herbaceous.
Oh, lovely drop. Lovely drop. And do you know what? If you just ignore the fact that there's a festival's banner across this, but if you sat down and did any tasting anywhere, any time, where you had a lineup of 5 whiskies, this lineup in that order is a pretty nice, diverse jaunt around the country, isn't it? It's,
yeah. And it really does showcase the regionality of the whiskies, doesn't it? Especially starting with G16, it's almost like an aperitif, isn't it? I've got just a smidge of it left in the glass.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I'm actually going to go back to mine. Oh boy, the vanilla and the toffee is just streaming out of the glass.
So much toffee, so much salted toffee still.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Ooh. The 68's become so much nuttier. Way more than I was expecting.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. And that 90, the caramels on that 93 now.
It's the real forgotten thing, isn't it, these days? We've got to remember, society drams, cask strength whiskies in general, they change over time. Pour yourself a dram, put it away, come back to it 20 minutes later, you've got a completely different drink to the one you started out with.
Yeah. Time changes whiskey in the glass, very much so.
I think there's a tasting format in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, David, I think we'll run with your call there. I agree. Very, very close, but yeah, 93 by a whisker.
That 53 with a bit of time now and a tiny bit of water there's now gauze. There's now like iodine and gauze in it. In that like medical bandage, which I don't usually get in 53s. I get it in some 29s and 33s and things, but
I was enjoying a dram with our mutual colleague, Mr. Cowie, the other night, and then when you said gauze, of course, when he says that, he means Gorse.
Oh, gorse. You gorse. Yeah.
When you said that, I was just thinking, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And a big shout out to Mr. Cowie indeed, who's done a lot of charitable efforts using the society. Big, lovely bloke. Well, that leads us to the end of our formalities. Of course, I encourage you all watching along or watching later or watching live to, of course, go back through them. I only poured 10, 15 mils of each myself, so I'll get to go back through myself as well. But some great comments coming through. Thank you, everyone, who tuned in tonight. The big 10-pack, the full Festival 10, has completely sold out. So there's no point in me saying, if you missed out tonight, then wait for the Festival 10 in 2 weeks, because that is gone. That is sold out. If we do manage to get any more packs of that available, we'll let you know. But the festival releases are in hot demand. Of course, after Speyside Week this week, Campbelltown Week next week, Isla Week is next, and I'll just quickly show on screen what that looks like. It's those 4 releases, as I touched on before. The Rare Release 53, Honeysuckle Petrichor, the Finesse of a Fragrant Furnace, the Rare Release 3, the Edge of Midnight we just tasted just now, and the Sound of Singing Sand, which is a fantastic release. That's a PX finished 10, that one on the end there.
I think that's probably my pick of Isla casks.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, maybe you can pick the
I
next
would say for me.
Yeah. And that leads us to the end of our formalities tonight. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in and being part of our big five, if you like, our sort of just personalized picks of the different regions. And thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Adam. And this has been great fun.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you kindly. And fun as always.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave it there for now, folks. And but we'll see you all soon. See you all for the big Distillery 10. And I'll see you at the events around the country. Actually, big shout out. Andrew, you're on this Friday, are you not? Friday?
Sydney tasting this Friday, and the opportunity to taste one or two others from the lineup if people can.
Yeah, it'd be great. If you haven't booked it for Sydney and you've been watching along, booking for Sydney, of course, but there's events going on around the country and still more to be announced shortly. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for being a part of it, and we'll see you all soon.
Yeah.